Hi everyone. So today we'll be discussing about IELTS Edu. We'll be looking at the different question types and how to solve them. There are different question types in IELTS reading. For example, read the blanks, MCQ questions, matching information, matching headings, etc. So we'll be looking at all these questions. So first, before starting, we will look at what is the meaning of the questions are in order and questions are not in order. We will take an example. For example, this is a fill in the blanks question type. So here you can see that this is the 20th question and then we have the 21st question. So for example, if you are finding this 20th question in paragraph C, 21st question, we would be finding it in either paragraph D or the following paragraphs. It can be E, F, anything, but it won't be before C. If we have found the first answer in paragraph C, then we might find the second answer in paragraph D and the next one in the paragraph F. Here we can clearly see that the answers are in the order of the passage. So if you're finding an answer D, you clearly have an idea. For example, you first found the answer, 21st answer, and you found it in paragraph D. That means that you will be finding the 20th answer before the paragraph D. So it can be either A, B, or C. Out of these three paragraphs, you might find the answer, 20th answer. So here we can clearly see that the answers are clearly in the order of the paragraph. In case of, here you can see matching information. For example, if you take the matching information question type, here, if you're finding, you might find the 14th answer in paragraph G and you might find the 15th answer in paragraph A. So here you can see that, and you might find the 16th answer in paragraph H. So here you can clearly see that answer clearly not in the order of the passage. Matching information and matching headings, these type of questions, they are not in order. Now, next we'll be looking at how to read a paragraph. So this is a whole passage and this passage is having an heading. So this passage is having different paragraphs. Here you can see this is the first paragraph, then we have the second paragraph. Now, how to read each paragraph? So to read the paragraph, first you will have to look at the first sentence as the topic sentence. For example, from this whole passage, you're looking at this sentence as a topic sentence. And for this paragraph, you must consider the first line or the first sentence as the topic sentence. What do you mean by the topic sentence? It means that this will act as the heading, and whatever is given after the first sentence can be the second sentence or the third or the fourth sentence. That sentence will be related to the first sentence. So this first sentence will act as a heading for this particular paragraph. So this sentence will act as the topic sentence for the paragraph D. So when you're reading the first sentence, you must consider it as the topic sentence or the heading. When you read this whole paragraph, you will realize that the second, third, or the fourth sentence which is given, they are always connected to this first topic sentence or the heading. So, for example, we see this paragraph. Well, about the tree line in Norway's highest mountains, ancient fields of ice are shrinking as Earth's climate warms. So here they are clearly telling about the shrinking of ice in ancient field of Norway. So as the ice has vanished, it has given it has been giving up the treasures it has preserved in gold storage for the last 6,000 years. Items such as ancient arrows and skills from Viking age traders. So this is your second sentence, and those artifacts are provided archaeologists with some surprising insights into how ancient Norwegians made their living. So here you can see that first they spoke about the ice shrinking in the ancient fields of Norway. Then they are telling that because of this ice shrinkage, what they are able to see, they are able to see the arrows in skies. As the archaeologists have found these arrows in skies, it has made it is providing them with some surprising insights into the Norwegians living. So you can see here that The second and the third sentence are completely connected with the first sentence. When you are reading a paragraph like this, you will remember what the paragraph is actually speaking. Else, if we are not connecting, what we'll do is we'll read the same paragraph 2 to 3 times, but still we will not understand what is the meaning of this paragraph. So, whichever paragraph you're taking, consider the first sentence as a topic sentence, and rest of the sentences you will have to connect it with the first topic sentence. Now we'll read this paragraph B. Organic materials like textiles and hides are relatively rare finds at archaeological sites. So they're saying that it is relatively rare to find the organic materials. Then comes they are giving the reason. This is because unless they are protected from the microorganisms that cause decay, they tend not to last long. Extreme cold is one reliable way to keep artifacts relatively fresh for a few thousand years. But once thawed out, these materials experience degradation relatively swiftly. Here, they have clearly given the reason that they are not protected from the microorganisms because of that they easily decay, and that they are giving the next sentence, they clearly telling that how the extreme cold can prevent the decay. So whichever paragraph you read, you have to make sure that after you reading the first sentence, make sure you're reading the first sentence as a topic sentence, then connect, then read the rest of the sentences and make sure you're connecting it with the first sentence of the paragraph. This is very, very important. So we have clearly looked at how we have to read a paragraph. Now we'll be looking at how we have to read the question, because we tend to read the question, but we read it 2 to 3 times, but still we don't understand the meaning of the question. If you don't understand the meaning of the question, it's very difficult for you to find the answer in the passage. We'll link the 14th question. Here you can see an explanation of weapons being left behind in the mountains. So, after you're reading the question, you can either write down in just 2 words what you actually understood. You have to write just 2 to 3 words. When you're reading those words, you must clearly understand this question. You must not read the question again and again. In case of paragraph and questions, you must just read the paragraph once. You must just read the question once. This is very important. This is 2 to 3 words of what you understood from the question. So when you're looking back at the question, you don't have to read this whole question again and again. When you read these words which you have written down, when you look at those words, you must really understand what the question is. Or what you can do is, I am just marking the important words and then using some arrows and connecting it with the exact information so that I don't have to read the question again and again. So you can do that. For example, in the 15th question, we see a reference to the physical difficulties involved in the archaeological expedition. Physical difficulties in archaeological expedition. So you can just connect those, you can just underline the words, you can just use the arrows to connect it so that you clearly understand what the question is. And the explanation of why less food may have been available. So here they're asking about the reason for the less food explanation. Here they're asking weapons left behind explanation. Here they're asking physical difficulties of the archaeological expedition. You can just underline the important words and use the arrows to clearly understand the question so that you don't have to read the question again and again. Now we've clearly looked at how to read a paragraph, how to understand the paragraph, how to read a question, how to understand a question. So this is very, very important. Unless you're understanding the paragraph, unless you're understanding the question, you will find it very, very difficult to solve. So understanding the meaning is very, very important in IELTS reading. So we have clearly looked at how to understand the meaning of the paragraph and the question. Now we'll be looking at how we have to solve the question paper. So this is a test paper. So first what you have to do is you have to read the passage heading. So that is very, very important. This is your first step. First step is read the passage heading, which is very, very important, and try to understand what the passage is speaking about. Try to understand the heading clearly. This is very, very important. After reading the heading, what you have to look for is what type of questions they have asked and whether these questions are in order or they are not in order. Matching information is clearly not in order. This is clearly not in order. We'll look at the next question type. Fill in the blank. We clearly know that fill in the blanks is in order. Next, we'll be looking at the next question type where they have given the MCQ questions. So these MCQ questions are also in order. So after you've read the heading, you look at the question types and just look at which question type is in order and which question type is not in order. So once you've decided, what you have to do is you have to read the first question of the question types which are in order. Meaning, here you can see in case of fill in the blanks, you would have to read the 20th question. You would have to read this first question which they have given, and in case of MCQ questions, you will have to read this first question. After you read the first question, you will have to go to paragraph A, read the complete paragraph, understand it, and after you've read the paragraph, what you have to do is you have to first solve the questions which are not in order. For example, matching heading, matching information. The reason why I'm telling is that you tend to forget the overall meaning of the paragraph. So first you have to solve the questions which are not in order. So in this test paper, first after reading the paragraph, I will I will read all these questions. I'll try to solve this question type first and next, and later I will go and solve the question types which are in order, which are the filling the blank and the MCQ type of questions. So once I have completely solved the questions, I will look for the next question in the question types which are in order, and then I will move to the next paragraph, that is paragraph B. After reading paragraph B, I will try to solve the questions which are not in order, then I will try to solve the questions which are in order. So this is how you have to attend the paragraph. And the most important thing, while you are solving and you are reading paper, be completely calm. You're not supposed to be tense during the examination. You must be completely calm. If you are tense, you might read this paragraph 2 to 3 times but still did not understand the meaning. The most important thing was when you are attending the IELTS reading paper, when you are solving the test papers, be completely calm, and if you are remaining calm, and if you're not tense, you can easily solve your IELTS reading papers. So this is very, very important. We have clearly discussed how to understand a paragraph, how to understand a question, how to read a passage. Now we'll be solving this test paper. So first is a heading: climate change reveals ancient artifacts in Norway's glaciers. So there is ancient artifacts are being revealed in Norway glaciers due to climate change. So this is the heading. Next, we'll be looking at the question tag. First is matching information. It is not in order. Fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks is in order. Then we have MCQ questions. These questions are also in order. So first we'll be reading the first question of the fill in the blanks. Organic materials such as animal skins and textiles are not discovered very often at archaeological sites. They have little protection against something, which means they decay relatively quickly. This is the first question. Looking at the MCQ question, which two of the following statements does the writer make about the discoveries of Barrett's team? So, in case of MCQ questions, you have to just read the question. You don't have to read the options. Only after you are reading the passage or the paragraph, only after you're reading the paragraph, you will have to look at the options. You have to just read the question. So, here in this passage, in this test paper, in case of reading the blanks, you're not able to find any perfect keyword. So, here, if you're saying Auckland and Norway, it is being repeated many times in the passage. So here you can see this is another passage. Here you can see why we need to protect poor levels. So this is the heading of the passage, so the topic sentence of the passage. And here in this passage, the question type is one of the question type is fill in the blanks. And in case of fill in the blanks, you can see here there is a keyword that is a technology zoo. In case you are finding such keywords, in case of fill in the blanks, what you have to do is you have to just go and scan through the passage. Just have to quickly scan. You can just see that I'm not going line by line, I'm not reading. I'm just quickly scanning the passage. And once you scan the passage, once you're finding the keyword, you can see here I have found the technology. So here, once you're finding the keyword, what you have to do is you have to first you have to mark that. That means that your fill in the blanks will be starting from here. You don't have to search for fill in the blanks in the whole of the passage. Don't have to search your fill in the blanks in the entire passage. You have to just look for fill in the blanks from here, because you have clearly got a keyword here and the fill in the blanks will be here. So in this passage, they have asked for three different question types. So first one is true false not given. Here we are having matching heading and fill in the blanks. Once you have completed reading the first paragraph, first you look for matching heading, second you look for true false not given. You will not look for fill in the blanks because you clearly know that fill in the blanks is starting later. Once you are reaching this paragraph, you will start looking for true false not given, matching headings, and also fill in the blanks. And it is very important that you're quickly scanning through the passage. You are not supposed to spend a lot of time just in scanning the passage. If you're not finding any keyword, you can just leave it. You have to just stop scanning and move on with the questions. Here you can see in this case, here you are not able to find any keyword, and for that reason you'll read the first question and you look for that in the passage. So now you have read the first question and first question from the MCQ. Now we'll be moving into the passage. This is the first paragraph. So first we'll read the paragraph. Well above the tree line in Norway's highest mountains, ancient fields of ice are shrinking. So this is your heading. As the ice has vanished, it has been giving up the treasures it has preserved in cold storage for the last 6,000 years. Items such as ancient arrows and skis from Viking Age traders, and those artifacts have provided archaeologists with some insights into how ancient Norwegians made their lives. So ice is shrinking, ancient arrows and skies are being revealed, and archaeologists are getting some surprising insights. This is the whole paragraph. So after reading the paragraph, first we'll solve the questions which are not in order. So here we'll be solving the matching information, an explanation for weapons being left behind. We have not spoken about any weapons. A reference to the physical difficulties which are being involved in archaeological expedition. But they have not spoken about any physical difficulties involved in archaeological expedition. An explanation of why less food is being available. They have not spoken about any less food. A reference to the possibility of archaeological discoveries. Possibility of future archaeological discoveries. They have not spoken about that. Then comes the examples of items that would have been traded. Examples of the items that are being traded. No, they have not given any examples. So this is also not there. And next comes a reference to the pressure on the pressure archaeologists are under to work today. A reference to the pressure on archaeologists. They have not spoken about that also. So here there is nothing related to paragraph A. Now we're looking at the first question. Organic materials such as animal skins, textiles are not discovered very often. Little protection, decay, we have not read anything related to this. I'll be looking at the MCQ. We have not read anything related to Barrett's tea. I'll be looking at the second paragraph. Paragraph B. So organic materials like textiles and hides are relatively rare finds at archaeological sites. This is because unless they are protected from the microorganisms that cause decay, they tend not to last long. Extreme cold is one reliable way to keep artifacts relatively fresh for a few thousand years. But once thawed out, these materials experience degradation relatively swiftly. We've clearly seen something related to decay in the green the black. So we'll be just looking into that. Organic materials such as animal skins and textiles are not discovered very often at the archaeological site. They have little protection against Microorganisms. So microorganisms is the answer here because we clearly seen in the passage, which means that they decay relatively quickly. But that's not always the case. Now we'll read the further paragraph. With climate change shrinking ice cover around the world, glacial archaeologists need to raise the clock to find newly revealed artifacts, preserve them, and study them. If something fragile breaks and is wind blown, it might very soon be lost to science, or an arrow might be exposed and then covered again by the next snow and remain well preserved. The unpredictable means that the glacial archaeologists have to be systematic in their approach to fieldwork. So here they're clearly mentioning about the decay. Then they have mentioned about the archaeologist that they have to be systematic in their work. Now we'll be looking at the first we'll be looking at the questions that are not in order. We'll be looking at here if we are able to find any answers. So unexplained weapons left behind, nothing related to weapons. Physical difficulties in an archaeological expedition. Here also they have not mentioned related to any physical difficulties and explanation for less food, nothing. Possibility for future discoveries, nothing. Examples of items traded, not mentioned. A reference to the pressure the archaeologists are under to work quickly. So we have clearly read that the archaeologists have to raise the clock and they have to be systematic. So the answer for this question is B. And here we have already solved the first question. Looking at the MCQ, did they speak anything about barrel stream? We have not looked anything about barrel stream. We will be looking at the next question in case of MCQs because we have already solved the first question. But that is not always the case. If temperatures are low enough, fragile artifacts can be preserved for thousands of years. So this also we have read in the paragraph. Next question, what they're asking is, a team of archaeologists have been working in the mountains in Auckland, Norway, to recover artifacts revealed by shrinking ice cover. In the past, there were trade routes through these mountains. And dash gathered there in the summer months. Dash gathered there in the summer months to avoid being attacked by dash on the lower ground. So this is your next question. We have read the question. Now we'll be moving into the next passage, paragraph C. Over the 9-year period, we have read about this in the fill in the blanks. A team of archaeologists, which included a large field of Auckland Country Council, they have given the name, and James Barrett of the McDonald Institute for Archaeological Research surveyed patches of ice in Auckland, an area of south central Norway that is home to some of the country's highest mountains. The heading is they are telling about the survey, what they did, and the reindeer once congregated on these ice patches in the later summer months. We already read in the question to escape biting insects and from the late Stone Age. Escape. We had this word also in the passage in the fill in the blanks. Biting insects and from the late Stone Age hunters followed. In addition, trade routes threaded through the mountain passes of Ireland, linking the settlements in Norway and to the rest of Europe. We had also read of the trade routes. So we'll try to solve the fill in the blanks. Here you can see they were trade routes to these mountains and dash gathered. So the answer is reindeer because we have already seen in the paragraph in the summer months to avoid being attacked by what? To avoid being attacked by insects. So this also we saw in the paragraph on the lower ground. So we have completely completed the fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks is already completed. Next we'll continue reading the paragraph. So first they spoke about the survey and then they're speaking about the reindeer. And then comes the slow and steady movement of glaciers tends to destroy anything at their bases. So the team focused, speaking of the team now, on stationary patches of ice, mostly about 1400 meters. That ice is found amid fields of frost, weathered boulders, fallen rocks, and exposed by rock. For 9 months of the year is buried beneath snow. Fieldwork is hard work, hiking with all our equipment, often camping on permafrost, but very rewarding. We are rescuing the archaeology, bringing the melting ice to wider attention, discovering a unique environmental history, and really connecting with the natural environment, says Barrett. So we had read in the MCQ about Barrett. Suppose we have read the complete paragraph, or we looking at the matching information. An explanation of weapons being left there, nothing is related to that. A reference to the physical difficulties which are involved So we were clearly seeing all the physical difficulties which are involved in an archaeological expedition. So the answer is C. Now we have already completed the fill in the blanks. Now we'll be looking at the MCQ. Which two of the following statements does the writer make about the discoveries from Barrett's team? Moving into the next paragraph. At the edges of the contracting ice patches, archaeologists found more than 2,000 artifacts, which formed a material record that ran from 4000 BCE to the beginning of the Renaissance in the 14th century. So they are speaking about the record. Many of the artifacts are associated with hunting. Hunters could have easily misplaced arrows, and they often discarded broken bows rather than take them all the way home. Other items that have been used by hunters traversing the high mountain passes of Auckland or surface items like tools, keys, and horse track. Now we're looking through the passage. Here, first is any weapons being left behind. Here we've clearly seen that they have spoken about the weapons that were left behind in the paragraph. Here you can see the weapons which are left behind. They have clearly mentioned here. So the answer for the 14th question is paragraph B. Now we're looking into the MCQ questions. So here you can just quickly scan through what. Here you can just quickly scan. You can see that we have not did anything related to this. Now we'll be looking in the next paragraph. Barrett's team radiocarbon dated 153 of the artifacts and compared those dates to the timing of major environmental changes in the region, the periods of cooling or warming, and major social and economic shift. There's the growth of urban settlement and the spread of international trade networks dating to the Viking Age. So here they're speaking about the radiocarbon dated. They found that some periods had produced lots of artifacts, which indicate that people had been pretty active in the mountains, but there were few or no signs of activity during other periods. So we have clearly read this in the MCQ question. Here, the number of artifacts from certain time periods was relatively low. So the answer for this is C. And we'll also look into the matching information. You can just scan through this if you're finding anything related to the paragraph. You can see that there is nothing related to the paragraph. So we'll be moving into so we'll read the next paragraph. What is surprising according to Barrett was the timing of these periods. Upland mountains present daunting terrain, and in periods of extreme cold, glaciers could block the higher mountain passes and make travel in the upper reaches of the mountains extremely difficult. Here they are speaking of the difficulty of traveling. Archaeologists assumed people would stick to lower elevations during a time of the late Antique Little Ice Age, a short period of deeper than usual cold from about 536 to 600 CE. But it turned out that hunters kept regularly venturing into the mountains even when the climate turned cold, based on the amount of stuff that they had apparently dropped there. So we have already seen in the MCQ questions. Here they are mentioning about the hunters are moving into the mountains even during the periods of extreme cold. And this is the second answer. We'll be completing the paragraph. Remarkably, though the finds from the ice may have continued through this period, perhaps suggesting that the importance of mountain hunting increased to supplement failing agricultural harvest in times of low temperature, says Barrett. Colder turn in the Scandinavian climate would likely spread crop failures, so more people would have been dependent on hunting to make up for those losses. So we have seen about the food related to food in the matching information. Here you can see we had clearly said that an explanation of why less food may have been available. Clearly seen this in the paragraph F. So next we'll be reading we'll now read the next question of the MCQ. Which two of the following statements does the writer make about the Viking Age? Now they're speaking about the Viking Age. Now we'll read the paragraph G. Many of the artifacts Barrett stains covered date from the beginning of the Viking Age. 700s through to the 900 CE. Trade networks connecting Scandinavia with Europe and the Middle East were expanding around this time. Although we usually think of ships when we think of Scandinavian expansion, these recent discoveries show that plenty of goods traveled on overland routes like mountain passes of them, and growing Norwegian towns along with export markets would have created a booming demand for the height of the gold as well as antlers to make useful things like homes. Business must have been good for hunters. Now we'll be looking at the matching information. A reference to the possibility of future archaeological discoveries. We have not discussed anything related to this, but here you can see examples of items that would have been traded. We have clearly seen about this in the paragraph G. We have clearly mentioned about the antlers. Here you can see they have clearly mentioned about the antlers, heights, business. So the answer is paragraph G. Now we'll be moving into the MCQ question. Which two of the following statements does the writer make about the Viking Age? That is the question. Hunters at this time benefited from an increased demand for goods. Yes, you can see in the passage that they have clearly mentioned about the increased demand for goods. So this is the answer. So this is the first answer. What is the second answer? The beginning of the period saw the book in the belt. They did not mention anything about the belt. Vikings did not rely on ships alone to transport goods. This also they have clearly mentioned the paragraph G that they even used the overland roads. Here you can see they have clearly mentioned that they not only used ships but they have also used overland routes. So now we'll be looking at the next paragraph. Norway's mountains are probably still hiding a lot of history and prehistory in remote ice patches. Barrett's team looked at the dates for their samples of 153 artifacts. They noted a gap with almost no artifacts from about 3800 to 2200 BCE. In fact, archaeological finds from that period are rare all over Norway. The researchers say that could happen because many of those artifacts have already disintegrated or are still frozen in the ice. That means archaeologists could be extracting some of those artifacts from retreating ice in years to come. In this test paper, we have looked at how to solve the fill in the blanks, MCQ questions, and matching information. You can see here, so this is the answer for the passage. You can just go through this. So we have already discussed the fill in the blanks, MCQ questions, and matching information. We have already discussed a question type. Now we'll be discussing the other question types. Label the diagram question type, true, false, not given, and short answer questions. So first you'll have to read the heading. It is about the Roman tunnels. The Romans, who once controlled areas of Europe, North Africa, and Asia, adopted the construction technique. They have adopted the construction technique of other civilizations to build tunnels in their territories. So this is the heading. Now we're looking at the question type. First is label the diagram. So this is in order. Next comes true, false, not given. This also is in order. And then comes short answer questions. This is also in order. Now we'll be looking at the given questions. Here the first question is dash is used to direct the tunneling. Water runs into a dash is used by the local people. In true, false, not given, the counter excavation method completely replaced the Kannak method in the 6th century BC. So in case of true, false, not given, true means they have given the meaning of this sentence is matching exactly with the sentence that is given in the passage. False means the sentence they have given or the information which they have given is completely opposite to the information that's given in the passage. It's completely opposite. In case of not given, it means that the information which they have given in the question is not mentioned in the passage. So in case of true false not given, you will have to look for keywords. Here you can see 6th century BCE. So this is a keyword. But in case of true false not given, this will not be your keyword. The keywords will be like these words like only, completely replaced. All these words will act as keywords in case of true false not given. For example, none of them, all of them, all these are the words which you have to look for in case of true false not given. Case of true false not given, please look for words which completely change the meaning of the sentence. So in case of short answer questions, you'll also have to check the word limit and you will have to write exactly as it is given in the passage. If they have given us book in the passage, we'll have to mention it as book itself in the answer. We are not supposed to mention it as books. We'll look at the first word. What type of mineral were the Dalhousie mines in Wales built to extract? Here they're telling about what type of mineral was being extracted in the Dalhousie mines. So that is the question here. Now we'll be looking at the first paragraph. You've already read the question. The Persians who lived in present-day Iran were one of the first civilizations to build tunnels that provide a reliable supply of water to human settlements in dry areas. This will be necessary fitting for this paragraph. In the early first millennium BCE, they introduced the Kanat method of tunnel construction, which consisted of placing posts over a hill in a straight line to ensure that the tunnel kept to its route, and then digging vertical shafts down into the ground at regular intervals. Underground, workers removed the earth from between the ends of the shaft, creating a tunnel. Excavated soil was taken up to the surface using the shaft, which also provided ventilation during the work. Once the tunnel was completed, it allowed water to flow from the top of a hillside down towards a canal, which supplied water for human use. Remarkably, some canals built by the Persians 2000 years ago are still in use today. First, they told about the tunnel, about the water supply, then they're speaking about how they constructed the tunnel, then they're speaking about the how the workers worked in the tunnel, and then they're telling how the water was supplied in the tunnel. This is the whole paragraph. We'll be looking at the first question. Dash to direct the tunnel. So here you can see dash was used to direct the tunnel. Water runs into a dash which is used by the local people. So here in the paragraph you can see that we have clearly read that placing post over hill in the straight line to ensure that the tunnel kept to its route. So the first answer is post. And here you can see that it allowed water to flow from the top of a hillside down towards a canal which supplied water for human use. The second answer will be canal. So you've got both the answers from the paragraph A. So the posts were used to direct the tunneling and water runs into a canal which is used by the local people. So you've got both the answers. And vertical shafts to remove earth and for ventilation. In the paragraph that they remove the soil, here you can see the excavated soil and was taken up to the surface. It's also provided ventilation during the work. So the answer is ventilation. You can see here the topic was about the Persian conduct method. Then you can see if they have spoken about related 6th century BC counter excavation method, anything about replacement. You have not seen anything related to that. We have also not seen anything related to the mines. So we will be reading the second question. Cross section of the Roman conduct method. Dash was made of wood or stone. Handholds and footholds were used for. The handholds and footholds were used for. This is the rod, and dash was attached to the plumb line. So now we'll be looking at the next paragraph. They later passed on the knowledge to the Romans, who also used the conduct method to construct water supply for agriculture. Romans also started using the conduct method. Romans' conduct method were constructed with vertical shafts that at intervals of between 30 and 60 meters. The shafts were equipped with handholds and footholds. We had read this in the label items to help those climbing in and out of them, and were covered with wooden or stone lid to ensure that the shafts were vertical. Romans hung a plumb line, also read this, from a rod placed across the top of each shaft and made sure that the weight at the end of it hung in the center of the shaft. Plumb lines were also used to measure the depth of the shaft and to determine the slope of the tunnel. The 5.6 kilometer long Claudius tunnel built in 51 CE to drain the Phocéen Lake in central Italy had shafts that were up to 122 meters deep. Took 11 years to build and involved approximately 30,000 workers. And here they are speaking about the Claudius tunnel. Looking at the question, you can see cross section of the Roman granite method. Dash was made of wood or stone. Handholds and footholds were used for climbing. You already saw in the paragraph. Dash was attached to the plumb line. So we'll be looking at the paragraph. Plumb line. Romans hung a plumb line from a rod placed across the top of a shaft and made sure that the weight at the end of it hung in the center of the shaft. So the answer is weight. Here you can see weight was attached to the plumb line. So the answer is weight here. Then dash was made of wood or stone. Here also read the wood and stone in the paragraph. Here you can see and were covered with a wooden or stone lid. So lid, wood or stone. So the answer is lid. The answer is lid for this question. The lid was made of wood or stone. We have completely completed the able the diagrams question, and you can see here you have to mention only one word. So please make sure that writing only one word. Then you can see the 2 was not given. We did not see anything about 6th century BC, and we have not seen anything related to mines. We'll be moving on to the next paragraph. By the 6th century BC, you can see here we saw the 6th century BC in the question also. Second method of tunnel construction appeared called the counter excavation method, in which the tunnel was constructed from both ends. We are speaking about the counter excavation method. So this is your heading for this paragraph. It was used to cut through high mountains. The connect method was not a practical alternative. This method required greater planning and advanced knowledge of surveying, mathematics, and geometry, as both ends of the tunnel had to meet correctly at the center of the mountain. Adjustments to the direction of the tunnel also had to be made whenever builders encountered geological problems or when it deviated from the set path. We constantly checked the tunnel's advances. For example, to show the clearly mention of the counter excavation method, that it requires a greater planning for the planning and knowledge that is required. Then they give an example. For example, looking back at the light that penetrated through the tunnel mouth and made corrections whenever necessary. Large deviations could happen and they could result in one end of the tunnel not being usable. An inscription, which is written on the side of a 428-meter tunnel built by the Romans as a part of the Salde aqueduct system in the modern day Algeria, describes how the two teams of builders missed each other in the mountain, how the later construction of a lateral link between both corridors corrected the initial error. Now we'll be looking at the question. The counter excavation method completely replaced the connect method in the 6th century BC. It did not completely replace, so the answer is false here. Then comes only experienced builders were employed to construct a tunnel using the counter excavation method. They have not mentioned anything about the experienced builders. They will not given. Have they mentioned anything related to mines? They have not mentioned anything related to mines. Information about a problem that had occurred during construction of the Salde aqueduct system was found in an ancient book. So this also we had read in the passage. It was found in an ancient book. Was it found? So what is given in the passage? Here they clearly mentioned that an inscription was written on the side of the tunnel. So it is not an ancient book. So they implement completely opposite information. So the answer for this will be false. Then you can see a mistake made by builders of the Salde aqueduct system was that the two parts of the tunnels failed to meet. You can clearly see in the paragraph that clearly mentioned that team of builders missed each other in the mountain and how the later construction of a lateral link between both corridors connected the initial error. As I've clearly mentioned in the passage, the answer for the 10th question is true. We're looking at the short answer questions. Mineral extracted in Lakoti mines. So we'll be looking about that in the passage. Romans dug tunnels for the roads using the counter excavation method whenever they encountered obstacles, hills, and mountains. every too high for roads to pass over. An example is a 37-meter long, 6-meter high Urlo Pass tunnel built in 1869 to 79 CE. Remarkably, a modern road still uses this tunnel today. Tunnels were also built for mineral extraction. Here I mention over the mineral. Miners would locate the mineral vein and then proceed it with shafts and tunnels underground. Traces of such tunnel used to mine gold can still be found at the Dolite mines in Wales. When the sole purpose of the tunnel was mineral extraction, construction required less planning as the tunnel route was determined by the mineral vein. So here they've clearly mentioned that which mineral did they extract in the mines? It was the gold. So the answer is gold for this question. Then comes in addition to the patent, name might be carved onto the tunnel. In addition to patent, someone else's name also can be carved on the tunnel. Whose name is that? So we read the next paragraph. Roman tunnel projects were carefully planned and carried out. The length of time it took to construct a tunnel depended on the method being used and type of rock being excavated. The current construction method was usually faster than the counter excavation method, and it was more straightforward. This was because the mountain could be excavated not only from the tunnel walls but also from the shafts. Type of rock could also influence construction times. When the rock was hard, the Romans employed a technique called fire quenching. It consisted of heating the rock with fire and then suddenly cooling it with cold water so that it would crack. Progress through hard rock could be very slow, and it was not uncommon for tunnels to take years, if not decades, to be built. Construction marks left on Roman tunnels in Bologna showed that the rate of advance through solid rock was 30 centimeters per day. In contrast, the rate of advance of Claudius tunnel can be calculated as 1.4 meters per day. Most tunnels had inscription. Most tunnels had inscriptions showing the name of patrons. We are reading the question patrons who ordered construction and sometimes the name of the architect. For example, a 1.4-kilometer Pavlik tunnel in the built of way to divert the flood water, threatening the harbor of the ancient city of Seleucia Phaeria, had inscriptions on the entrance, still visible today. So that also indicates that the tunnel was started in 69 CE and was completed in 81 CE. Here they have clearly mentioned that the name of the architect. So here the answer is architect. So here the answer is architect. You can see here we'll have to, in case of short answer questions, we'll also have to check word limit. So maximum we can write only 2 words. So in this test paper, we clearly discussed the short answer questions, true, false, not given, and the label diagrams question. In this test paper, we'll be looking at the MCQ questions, complete a summary, and yes no non given questions. So first, we'll have to read the topic sentence. So if given changes in reading habits, what are the implications of the way we read today? So this is the heading. Now we'll be looking at if the questions are in order or not. This is MCQ, they are in order. Then complete a summary, they are also in order. We have a yes no not given. So this is also in order. Now we'll be looking at the question. What is the writer's main point in the first paragraph? This is the first question. Then we have, there have been many studies of digital screen use showing some dash trends. Psychologists and Mingan gave high school students a short story to read, half using digital and half using print medium. This is your second question, and with screen use. You can see the heading studies on digital screen use. Then we have the medium we use to read can affect our choice of reading content. Will the medium affect the reading content? So this is the question here. Now we'll be moving into the passage. Now we'll be moving into the first paragraph. Look around on your next plane trip. The iPad is a new pacifier for babies and toddlers. Younger school age children read stories on smartphones. Older kids don't read at all, but hunch over video games. Parents and other passengers read on tablets, flotilla of email and news feeds. Unbeknown to most of us, an invisible game-changing transformation links everyone in this picture. A neuronal circuit that underlies the brain's ability to read is subtly rapidly changing, and this has implications for everyone, from the pre-reading toddler to the expert adult. When you're reading the paragraph itself, you must be able to you must clearly connect the rest of the sentences. First, you can see they're telling about the different examples ranging from the young children to parents, and then they are given the implications. Now we'll be reading the question. We'll try to answer it. What is the writer's main point in the first paragraph? Our use of technology is having a hidden effect on us. So you can see in the first paragraph, they clearly mentioned about the effect or the implication on us. This is the first answer. You can also go to the rest. Technology can be used to help. No, they have not discussed about this. Travelers should be encouraged to use technology. They have completely told that it is not good to use. Playing games is more popular use of technology than reading. They have not mentioned about this. So the first 14th answer is option A. We have not discussed about it. Then we have not discussed about any medium and the reading content. Now we'll be moving to the next paragraph. As work in neurosciences indicates, the acquisition of literacy necessitated a new circuit in one species trained more than 6,000 years ago. That circuit evolved from a very simple mechanism for decoding basic information, like the number of goats in one flock, to the present highly elaborated reading brain. My research depicts how the present reading brain enables the development of some of our most important intellectual and effective processes: internalized knowledge, analytic reasoning and inference, perspective taking and empathy, critical analysis, and the generation of insight. Research increasing in many parts of the world now cautions that each of these is essential deep learning processes being under threat as we move into digital modes of learning. So now we'll be looking into the question: what main point does the Shirley Turkle make about innovation we have not read this name yet? There have been many studies on digital screening, some showing that students not read about that still. And so we'll move to the next paragraph. This is not a simple binary issue of print versus digital reading and technology innovation. As MIT scholar Shirley Turkle has written, we do not err as a society when we innovate, but when we know what we disrupt or diminish while innovating. In the same moment between print and digital cultures, society needs to confront what is diminishing in the expert reading culture, what and older students are not developing, and what we can do about it. So you can see we already heard the next article in the second 15 question. What is the 15 question answer? Technology innovation has led to reduction. They have not mentioned anything about this. Should pay attention to what might be lost when innovation occurs. This is clearly mentioned in the paragraph. Society needs to confront what is diminishing in the expert reading circuit, what our children and older students are not developing, and what we can do about it. So here the answer will be the second option. We should encourage more young people to become involved in innovation. It is not mentioned there is a difference between developing products and developing ideas. Answer B is the correct option. Then we'll be looking here. Have they mentioned anything related to digital screen use? I'm also not mentioned of the reading content. Now we'll be moving into the next question. We'll read the next question. What point is the writer making in the fourth paragraph? This is a question. We know from research that the reading circuit is not given to human beings through a genetic blueprint like vision or language. It needs an environment to develop. Further, it will adapt to the environment requirements from different writing systems to the whatever medium is used. The dominant medium advantages processes the first multitask oriented and very superficial large ones of information like the current digital medium. So will the reading circle, as the UCL psychologist particularly emphasized. The result is that less attention and time will be allocated to slower, time demanding deep reading processes. Here we can see what is the 16th answer. He clearly mentioned that humans have an inborn ability to not mention reading can be done using many different mediums. Not mentioned by the mediums. Writing system may conduct the demands of the brain. They have not mentioned. Some brain circuits adjust to whatever is required of them. So this is something they have clearly mentioned. Here you can see it will adapt to the environment requirements. So the answer is D. Have they mentioned anything related to screen use? Professor psychologist mentioned. I've also not mentioned about any reading content. So we'll move to the next paragraph. We'll see the next question. According to Mark Edmondson, the attitude of college students. Thinking about the attitude of college students, increasing reports from educators and from researchers in psychology and humanities bear this out. English literature scholar and teacher Mark Edmondson describes how many college students actively avoid the classic literature of the 19th and 20th centuries in favor of something simpler, as they no longer have the patience to read longer, denser, and more difficult texts. We should be less concerned with students' cognitive impatience, however, than by what may underline it. Potential inability of large number of students to read with the level of critical analysis sufficient to comprehend the complexity of thought and argument found in more demanding text. Now we'll be looking at the question. According to Mark Edmondson, the attitude of college students has changed the way he teaches. No, they have not mentioned anything about this. Has influenced what they select to read. So yeah, so this they have clearly mentioned. Does not worry him much as it does not match the views of the general public. This also they have not mentioned. You can see here they are avoiding the classic literature of the 19th and the 20th centuries in favor of something simpler, as we no longer have the patience to read longer, dense, and more difficult text. So the answer is E. So now we're looking into the next paragraph. Multiple studies show that digital screen use, initial generation of the screen use, may be causing a variety of troubling downstream effects on reading comprehension in older high school and college students. Mr. Avinger, Norway psychologist, and Wingen, we have read this name before, and his colleagues studied how high school students comprehend the same material in different mediums. Mangan's group asked asked subjects questions about short stories about their universal student appeal. Half of the students read the story on a tablet and the other half in paper. But research indicated that students who read on print were superior in their comprehension of screen reading peers, particularly in the ability to sequence the detail and reconstruct the plot in the chronological order. So now we'll be looking at the next. We have already completed the MCQ questions. Now we'll be looking, you'll see, studies on digital screen use. You'll see there have been many studies on digital screen use showing some dash runs. By reading the paragraph, you must have clearly understood that there are some worrying trends. So here the answer will be worrying. And we can give high school students a short story to read, half using digital and half using print medium. A team then used a question and answer technique to find out how dash improves understanding of the plot was. You see the different option past, meaning isolated, hard, emotional, combined, worrying, thorough. So here the answer is how thorough each group's understanding of the plot was. Your attention. And the colleague studied how high school students comprehend the same idea in different meanings. So here you can see she was trying to find out how thoroughly they were able to understand the plot. The findings showed a clear pattern in the response with those who read screens finding the order of information dashed to record. Clearly read in the passage that it was hard for them to recall. It was not fast. Many can just go to the options and see her hard is a correct answer. And we can see then they're saying about Zimming blue. I will be moving to the next paragraph. Studies by Zimming blue show that students are tending to read dash words and phrases in a text to save time. This approach, she says, gives reader a superficial understanding of the dash content of the material, giving no time to thought. And see here they're not given anything about the reading content with the medium yet. Speaking of the screen use, Zimming Liu from Sanjo State University has conducted a series of studies which indicate that new normal reading is involving word spotting and browsing through the text. Many readers now use a pattern when reading in which they sample the first line and then word spot through the rest of the text. When the reading brain skills like this, it reduces the time allocated to deep reading processes. In other words, we don't have time to grasp complexity, to understand another's feelings, to perceive beauty, and to create thoughts of the reader's own. We don't have the time. So now we're looking at the question. Here you can see study was able to show the students are tending to read dash words or phrases in a text to say them. Tending to read the fast words, mini words, isolated words, emotional, combined words. You can see they were trying to spot the words. They were trying to read some isolated words and phrases in a text to save time. Superficial understanding of the dash content of the material or the combined or emotion. You can see in the paragraph it will be emotional content of the material, leaving no time for thought. Here you can see they clearly mentioned that to understand another's feelings, the possibility and the great thoughts of the reader's own. So the answer is emotional content. Now we have completed the summary question type. Now we have yes or not given. And see here they are speaking about the reading content and the medium. We look into the next paragraph. The possibility that critical analysis, empathy, and other deep learning processes could become the unintended collateral damage of digital culture is not straightforward by the issue about print versus digital reading. It's about how we all have begun to read various mediums. Speaking about the various mediums, on how that changes not only what we read but also the purpose of which we read. Or is it only about the young? The subtle atrophy of critical analysis and empathy affects us all equally. Affects us all equally. It affects our ability to navigate the constant bombardment of information. It incentivizes a retreat to the most familiar stores of unchecked information which require and receive no analysis, leaving us susceptible to false information and irrational ideas. The medium we use to read can affect our choice of the reading content. Yes, here some age groups are more likely to lose their complex reading skills than others. It affects us all equally. Tourist mediums and how that changes not only what we read but also the purpose for which we read. Yeah. So, but false information has become more widespread in today's digital era. Not even we still have opportunities to rectify the problems that technology is presenting. There's an old doing neuroscience that does not alter with age. Use it or lose it. It is very hopeful principle when applied to critical thought in the reading brain because it implies choice. Story of the changing reading brain is hardly finished. It possesses both the science and the technology to identify and redress the changes in how we read before we become entrenched. If we work to understand exactly what we will lose, alongside the extraordinary new capacities that the digital world has brought us, there is as much reason for excitement as caution. Here you can see we still have opportunities to rectify the problems that technology is presenting. So you can clearly see in the passage that we're clearly speaking about it. So the answer is yes. Here you can see we possess both the science and the technology to identify and redress the changes in how we read before they become entrenched. If we work to understand exactly what we will lose alongside extra and new capacities that the digital world has brought us, there is as much reason for excitement as caution. Here you can see they have clearly mentioned. So the answer for this question is yes. So in this test paper, we have solved yes or not given, complete the summary, and MCQ questions. So we have clearly understood how to attend these type of questions. So in this test paper, we'll be looking at how to solve the list of headings, MCQ questions, and yes or not given. So they are speaking about the attitudes towards the artificial intelligence. That is heading. I'll be looking at what are the questions which are in order and which are not in order. So list of headings, they're clearly not in order. Then we have the MCQ questions, they are in order. Then we have the yes or not given, they are also in order of the passage. So first, we'll be reading the questions. We'll be reading the first question of the MCQ. What is the writer doing in section A? In yes or not given, the first question is subjective depictions of AI in sci-fi films make people change their opinion about automation. So we have read the question. Now we're reading the first paragraph. Artificial intelligence can already predict the future. Police forces are using it to map when and where crime is likely to occur. Doctors can use it to predict when the patient is most likely to have a heart attack or stroke. Researchers are even trying to give AI imagination so it can plan for unexpected consequences. Making decisions in our lives require a good forecast. The AI is almost always better at forecasting than we are. Yet, for all these technological advances, we still seem to deeply lack confidence in the AI predictions. Recent cases show that people don't like relying on AI, prefer to trust human experts, even if these experts are wrong. If we want AI to really benefit people, we need to find a way to get people to trust it. To do that, we need to understand why people are so reluctant to trust AI in the first place. So, after reading the paragraph, first you'll have to solve the questions which are not in order. So in this paragraph, it will be matching headings, and then you'll have to solve the MCQ questions and the yes or no answer. The first will be solving the matching headings. Only after reading the paragraph, you have to go through the options, and when you get in the right answer, you can just write it here itself. For example, I got this as paragraph B. So here you can see for section B, the answer is 1. After you have completed finding all the answers, whatever you have written, you can just write it down here. And then what you have to do is you have to transfer these answers into the answer sheet. When you're scanning through the passage, you'll be writing your answers here itself. Before transferring into the answer sheet, you will write it here and then you will transfer it into the answer sheet. So now we're quickly going through the options and increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI. Divergence of attitudes towards AI. Reasons why we have more faith in human judgment than the AI. We're telling the reasons here. The superiority of AI projections. You're giving the superiority of the AI projections, the process by which AI can help us make good decisions. The process by which AI can help us make some good decisions. Then we have the advantages of involving users in AI. Advantages of involving users. Widespread distrust of AI innovation. Distrust, distrust of an AI innovation. Increasing the openness about AI, how AI function. Encouraging the openness about the AI function, but how AI functions. A surprisingly successful AI application. They're telling about the successful AI application. When we look through the option, we can see here they have not spoken about this, but they have clearly spoken about the superiority of AI projections over those made by humans. Here you can see they have mentioned. First, they mentioned of the doctors, researchers, they have mentioned of the police forces. So, the answer for the paragraph A is third option. Once you have completed the matching headings, we can just look into the other question types which are in order. Here, in this case, it is MCQ question. What is the writer doing in section A? Providing a solution, justifying an opinion, highlighting the existence of a problem, explaining the reasons of a phenomenon. Here you can see in the paragraph, they clearly highlighting the existence of a problem. So the answer is C. Are we looking into the yes or not given? So now we're moving into the next. We'll read the next question. According to section C, why might some people be reluctant to accept AI? They're asking what is the reason here. So now we'll be going into the, we'll be reading the paragraph B. Take the case of Watson for oncology, one of technology giant IBM supercomputer programs. Their attempt to promote this program to cancer doctors was a PR disaster. The AI promised to deliver top quality recommendations for the treatment of 12 cancer that was for 80% of the worst cases. But when doctors first interacted with Watson, they found themselves in a rather difficult situation. On one hand, if Watson provided guidance on what a treatment and coincided with their own opinions, physicians did not see much point in Watson's recommendation. The supercomputer was simply telling them what they already knew, and these recommendations did not change their actual treatment. On the other hand, if Watson generated the recommendation was that contradicted the expert's opinion, doctors would typically conclude that Watson wasn't competent and the machine wouldn't be able to explain why its treatment was plausible because its machine learning algorithms were simply too complex to be fully understood by humans. Consequently, this has caused even more suspicion and disbelief, leading many doctors to ignore the seemingly outlandish AI recommendations and stick to their own expertise. So first we'll be looking into the matching endings. An increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI, they have not mentioned about it. Reasons why we have more faith, they have not mentioned. The process by which AI can help us make good decisions, they have not mentioned. The advantages of involving users, they have not mentioned. Widespread distrust of an AI innovation. Clearly, they have spoken about an AI innovation and the widespread distrust. So clearly spoken in the paragraph. So the answer for this is B. So once you're getting the answer, you can just mark it so that you are not reading it again and again. Next question type, that is the MCQ question. So we are still in section B. Here they have still not spoken about any depictions of AI. So now we'll be moving into the next paragraph. This is just one example of people's lack of confidence in AI and their reluctance to accept what the AI has to offer. Here they speak about the reluctance. Trust in other people is often based on our understanding of how others think and having experience of their reliability. This helps create a psychological feeling of safety. AI, on the other hand, is still fairly new and unfamiliar to most people. Even if it can be technically explained, and that's not always the case. AI's decision making process is usually too difficult for most people to comprehend, and interacting with something we don't understand can cause anxiety and give us a sense that we are losing control. Now we'll be looking at the magic endings. Increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI, this is clearly not mentioned. This is clearly not mentioned. Then comes the reasons why we have more faith in human judgment than AI. You can see in the passage that you've clearly mentioned all the different reasons. So the answer is C. And in base of MCQ questions, list of headings, matching information, etc., when you're understanding that this particular information is completely wrong, what you have to do is you have to completely eliminate it. Else, what happens? You will read it again and again. Once you feel that something is completely wrong, just eliminate it and move on with the next options. Now we'll be looking at the next question. Here they're asking, according to section C, why most people might be reluctant to accept AI. You can see here, they are afraid it will replace humans in decision making jobs. They have not mentioned. Its complexity makes them feel that they are at a disadvantage. So they've clearly mentioned about the complexity in the passage. So the answer is B. They would rather wait for the technology to be tested over a period of time. It's not mentioned. Misunderstanding about how it works makes it seem more challenging than this. This is clearly not mentioned. So the answer is B. And still now they have not mentioned about the depictions of AI. So now we'll be reading the next question and moving into the passage. So the next question is, what does the writer say about the media in section C? We still have not seen anything related to media. So now we'll be moving into the passage. Many people are also simply not familiar with many instances of AI actually working because it often happens in the background. Instead, they're actually aware of the instances when AI goes wrong. Embarrassing AI failures receive a disappropriate amount of media attention, emphasizing the message that we cannot rely on technology. Machine learning is not foolproof in part because the humans who design it aren't. Here they've clearly mentioned about the media attention. What does the writer say about the public to be mistrustful of AI? Clearly mentioned about this. Devotes an excessive amount of attention to AI, reports incidents that are inaccurate, gives impression that AI failures are due to designer error. This is not clearly mentioned. This is not mentioned in the passage, in the paragraph, but it clearly mentioned that because of the media attention, it is leading the public to be mistrustful of AI. And still now they have not mentioned about the depictions of AI. Now we'll be moving to the next paragraph. Feelings about AI run deep. In a recent experiment, people from a range of backgrounds were given various sci-fi films. So we have read about this in the Yes or No argument about AI to watch and then ask questions about automation in everyday life. It was found that regardless of whether the film they watched depicted AI in a positive or negative light, Simply watching a cinematic vision of a technological feature polarized the participants' attitudes. Optimists became more extreme in their enthusiasm for AI, and skeptics became even more guarded. This suggests people use relevant evidence about AI in a biased manner to support their existing attitudes or deep-rooted human tendency known as confirmation bias. As AI is represented more and more in media and entertainment, could lead to a society spread between those who benefit from AI and those who reject it. More pertinently, refusing to accept the advantages offered by AI would place a large group of people at a serious disadvantage. So now we'll be looking at the matching headings. So here you can see an increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI. So this clearly mentioned in the passage B. So the answer is D. They've clearly not mentioned anything about the other options. It is the first option is the answer. We'll be looking at you clearly mentioned about the sci-fi films in the passage. Subjective depictions of AI in sci-fi films make people change their opinions about automation. The answer is no. They've clearly mentioned that the optimists are becoming more extreme in their enthusiasm for AI and skeptics are becoming even more guarded. So the answer is no. Now we'll be reading the next question. Rejection of the possibilities of AI may have a negative effect on many people's lives. This is clearly mentioned in the passage. You can see here that refusing to accept the advantages offered by AI could place a large group of people at a serious disadvantage. So the answer is yes, and here it is not given. Next question: familiarity with AI has a very little impact on people's attitudes to the technology. I'll be looking into the next paragraph. Fortunately, we already have some ideas about how to improve trust in AI. Simply having previous experience with AI can significantly improve people's opinions about the technology. As was found in the study mentioned above, evidence also suggests that more you use other technologies, such as the internet, the more you trust them. Another solution will be to reveal more about the algorithms which AI uses and purposes they serve. Several high-profile social media companies and online marketplaces already released transparency reports about government requests and surveillance disclosures. The similar practice for AI could help people have a better understanding of the way algorithm decisions are made. Now we'll be looking into the matching headings. The process by which AI can help us make good decisions. We have clearly not mentioned about this. The advantages of involving users in AI process. They have not spoken about involving the users in the process, encouraging the openness about how AI functions. This is clearly mentioned in the paragraph. So here the answer will be E. Familiarity with AI has very little impact on people's attitudes to the technology. So the answer is clearly no. You can see in the passage that so here you can see that simply having previous experience with AI can significantly improve people's opinions about the technology. So here the answer is no. Next question is AI applications which users are able to modify are more likely to gain consumer approval. Now moving into the next paragraph. Research suggests that allowing people to have some control over AI decision making could also improve trust and enable AI to learn from human experience. For example, one study showed that when people were allowed the freedom to slightly modify an algorithm, they were more satisfied with its decisions and more likely to believe it was superior and more likely to use it in the future. We don't need to understand the intricate inner workings of AI. People are given a degree of responsibility for how they are implemented. They will be more willing to accept AI into their lives. So now we're looking at the matching headings. The process by which AI can help us make good decisions. I've not mentioned about this. The advantages of involving users in AI processes. So this is clearly mentioned. You can see in the passage. So here the answer is paragraph F. Now we're moving into the next question. AI applications which users are able to modify are more likely to gain consumer approval. This is clearly an yes because the seen in the passage that, for example, one study showed that when people were allowed the freedom to slightly modify an algorithm, they felt more satisfied with its decisions more likely to believe it was superior, and more likely to use it in the future? So the answer is yes. So here you can see we have already completed the matching heading, this one not given, and the MCQ questions. In case of matching headings, you can see I've written the answers here itself. So after you've completed the passage, you can just write down the answers here. For example, section A, the answer is third one. So after the passage is completed, you have to write down the answer here and make sure that you're writing the correct number for each paragraph. For section B, you can see the answer is 6. So make sure you're writing the correct number. And after you've completed writing the numbers, you can transfer it to your answer sheet. So in this test paper, we clearly discussed about how to solve the matching headings, MCQ questions, and yes or no argument. You can see here that in case of matching headings, MCQ, matching information, etc., you don't have to read the options. Only after you're reading the passage, you have to read the options. So this is a matching features type of question. They are given a list of people. The list or the features will always be in order of the paragraph, but the answers will not be in the order. We'll be looking at the first paragraph. So the heading of the paragraph is Future of Work. According to a leading business consultancy, 3 to 14% of the global workforce will need to switch to a different occupation within the next 10 to 15 years. And all workers will need to adapt as their occupations evolve alongside increasingly capable machines. Automation or embodied artificial intelligence is one aspect of destructive effects of technology on the labor market. Disembodied AI, with the algorithms running in a smartphone, is another. You can see here in the matching features, the matching features will be in order. So the first thing they have given is about Stella. We'll be looking, they're telling anything about Stella. In the first paragraph, they clearly not mention anything about Stella. Now we'll be reading the next paragraph. Dr. Stella, Cambridge Judge Business School, believes that some of the most fundamental changes are happening as a result of the algorithmification of jobs as they dependent on data rather than on production. The so-called knowledge economy. Algorithms are capable of learning from data to undertake tasks that previously needed human judgment, such as reading legal contracts, analyzing medical scans, and gathering market intelligence. So now we'll be going through the different options they have given. Greater levels of automation will not result in lower employment. So they're saying automation will not result in lower employment. Lower employment. There are several reasons why AI is appealing to business. They're giving all the reasons why AI is appealing. AI's potential to transform people's lives is parallel with major cultural shift which occurred in previous era. They're speaking about the era here. It's important to be aware of the range of problems that AI causes. They are speaking about that we must be aware of the range of problems. People are going to follow a less conventional career path than in the past. So now they'll be following a less conventional career path. Authorities shall take measures to ensure there will be adequately paid everyone. So they're speaking that the authorities must pay everyone adequately. So now we'll be reading further. In many cases, they can offer from human says data. Organizations, here they're telling organizations are attracted to using algorithms. They want to make choices based on what they consider as perfect information, as well as reduce the cost and enhance productivity. We've clearly seen that. So in the paragraph, they clearly mentioned about the business and why AI is appealing to business. So the answer is A. Now we'll be reading further. But these enhancements are not without consequences, says Stella. If routine cognitive tasks are taken over by AI, how do professionals develop their future experts? She asked. One way of learning about a job is legitimate career for participation. Novice stands next to expert and learns by observation. If this isn't happening, then you need to find new ways to learn. So here they have spoken about the consequences. Now we can see they will be speaking about Hamish and then they will be speaking about Ivan because the list of people will be in order. Next, we read further. Another issue is the extent to which the technology influences or even controls the workforce. For over 2 years, Stella monitored a telecommunications company. The way telecoms say people work is through personal and frequent contact with clients, using the benefit of experience to assess the situation and make a decision. However, the company had started using algorithm that define when account managers should contact certain customers about what kind of campaigns and what to offer them. The algorithm, usually built by external designers, often become the keeper of knowledge, she explains. In cases like this, Stella believes a short-sighted view begins to creep into the working practices, whereby workers learn through the algorithm's eyes and become dependent on its instructions. Alternative explorations where experimentation and human instinct lead to progress and new ideas are effectively discouraged. Stella and colleagues even observed people developing strategies to make the algorithms work to their own advantage. We are seeing cases of speed the algorithm with false data reach their targets, she reports. Scenarios like these that many resources are working to avoid. Their objective is to make AI technologies more trustworthy and transparent, that organizations and individuals understand how AI decisions are made. In the meantime, says Stella, we need to make sure we fully understand the dilemma that this new world raises regarding expertise, occupation boundaries, and control. Greater levels of automation, they have not mentioned. AI's potential cultural shock, they have not mentioned. It is important to be aware of the range of problems that AI causes. So, it is clearly mentioned. So, the answer is A. Now, we'll be reading about the next person. Economic Professor Hamish. Now, you've already heard this name. Economic Professor Hamish believes that the future of work will involve major transition across the whole life course for everyone. The traditional trajectory of full-time education followed by full-time work, followed by pension and retirement is a thing of the past, says Lowe. Instead, he envisages a multi-stage employment like one where retaining happens across the life course and with multiple jobs and no job happens by choice at different stages. On the subject of job loss, Hamish believes the predictions are founded on fallacy. It assumes that the number of jobs is fixed. If in 30 years half of 100 jobs are being carried out by robots, that doesn't mean we are left with just 50 jobs for humans. The number of jobs will increase. We would expect there will be 150 jobs. So this is the complete details about Hamish. Now we'll be looking at the options. You can see greater levels of automation will not result in new employment. So this is clearly told by. With this, we have clearly seen in the paragraph cultural shock, previous errors they have not mentioned. People are going to follow a less conventional career path than in the past. This is also clearly mentioned. We'll be seeing in the paragraph. It is clearly mentioned that the number of jobs will increase. We would expect there to be 150 jobs. And here you can also see that he also says that the traditional trajectory of full-time education followed by full-time work followed by retirement is a thing of the past. State employment life, one where retaining happiness across the life goes and when multiple jobs and no job happen by choice at different stages. You can see these two statements. The answer is B for the employment and the career. The answer is B. We're looking at the next person, that is Ivan. Nick Gauti and Cambridge Center for Business Research and King's College London agree that apocalyptic views about the future of work are misguided. It's the laws that restrict us of the capital to the job market, not the advent of new technologies that causes unemployment. His recently published research answers the question of whether automation, AI, and robotics will mean a jobless future by looking at the causes of unemployment. History is clear that change can mean redundancies, but social policies can tackle this through retraining and redeployment. He adds, if there is going to be change to jobs as a result of AI and robotics, then I would like to see governments seizing the opportunity to improve policy to enforce good job security. We can reprogram the law to prepare for a fair future of work and leisure. Ivan's findings are a call to arms to leaders of organizations and governments and plans to preempt the coming changes with bold new policies that guarantee full employment, fair incomes, and thriving economic democracy. The promises of these new technologies are astounding. They deliver humankind the capacity to live in a way that nobody could have once imagined. He adds, just as the Industrial Revolution brought people past subsistence agriculture, and cooperative revolution enabled mass production, a third revolution has been pronounced. It will not only be one of the technology, the next revolution will be social. Now we'll be looking at the options. AI has potential to transform people's lives as parallel with major cultural shift which occurred in previous eras. So this is clearly mentioned in the paragraph. Then you have the last one, authority shall take measures to ensure there is adequately paid for effort. This is also mentioned in the paragraph we can see here. Comments changes with the bold new policy that will guarantee full employment, fair incomes, fair incomes in crime, economic democracy. So the answer is C. Here you can see just as the industrial revolution brought people past the subsistence agriculture and the cooperative revolution enabled mass production, a third revolution has been pronounced. But it will not only be one of the technology, the next revolution will be social. So here they clearly mention of the era, previous era. So in this test paper we clearly discussed how to solve the matching features question. So in this test paper, we'll be looking at how we have to solve the sentence ending type of questions. So here you can see this is the heading of the passage. Science in the 16th century London. Jewel House, a new book. Historical researcher and author Deborah Harkness. Now we're looking at the questions. In case of sentence ending, all the questions will be in the order of the passage. So now we'll be reading the first question and looking at the first paragraph. So Harkness' research method was different to that of other writers because it was different to other writers. They're asking the reason. Now we'll be reading the first paragraph. Deborah Harkness devotes her elegant and erudite new book, The Jewel House, to the scientific community in the 16th century London. She rightly argues that it is thanks to the imaginative collective efforts of the urban scientists that London became the melting pot in which the new mathematical and experimental culture crystallized. Deborah is known for her ingenuity as a researcher and her historical empathy. In the Jewel House, Harkness turns her skills on the city of London as a whole with surprising and fascinating results. She began her research by asking herself a new question, not what called scientific revolution, but what the names science and scientists meant in the 16th century London. Then she collected a vast range of sources from printed books to scientific instruments and notebooks and recorded in a relational database information on the men and women who produced them. So, if clearly seen in the question, they're asking what made it different. She has the greatest knowledge of Elizabethan, and then this is not the answer. This is not mentioned. She started by seeking to understand how basic terms were used in the past. This is the correct answer. Answer is B. Because it is clearly mentioned she began her research by asking herself a new question, not what caused scientific revolution, but what the names science and scientists meant. So now we'll be looking at the next question. Harkness' reconstruction of the 16th century London scientific groups was new because they're asking about the reconstruction of the 16th century was new because now we'll be moving to the next paragraph. Every chapter of the Jewel House charts the activities of a particular community. Harkness leads us through the streets of London, showing us neighborhood by neighborhood where the major forms of natural knowledge found homes. Example, apothecaries settled in Lime Street, what's now the city, where they created a dense network of shops and gardens. Clockmakers, both native craftsmen and many from overseas, clustered in several parishes in St. Paul's Cathedral. The once wealthy merchant, Clement Draper, even managed to transform the King's Bench prison in South Wark, where he served time as a debtor into a center of research and discussion. By the end of the book, Harkness has mapped London's scientific community with astounding precision. So till now, they have not mentioned anything about the reconstruction of the 16th century. Moreover, when Harkness reconstructs these groups, she provides non-traditional static accounts of their theories, a dynamic analysis of the practices as these develop over time. In many cases, she makes clear the alchemists of Elizabethan London already understood the knowledge of nature had to rest not on authority but on familiarity through practice. Here, the clearly mention of the reconstruction I will be going through the options. She has the greatest knowledge, it's not mentioned. They worked as individuals, it is not mentioned. She examined how their methods evolved and changed. So this is clearly mentioned in the passage. The paragraph, Clement Ricker was the best scientist. This is not the answer. They used old ways of analyzing written information. This is not given. He examined how the methods evolved and changed. Here you can see analysis of the practices as these developed over time. Now we'll be looking at the next question. Harkness shows that the 16th century London scientists were innovative because they are asking the reason. We'll be moving into the next paragraph. In one crucial aspect, Harkness argues many of the 16th century London scientists differ from the later ones of the 17th century. They saw themselves less as individuals out to gain fame than as members of the larger textual communities bent on exchanging and compiling information. Passages in which Harkness analyzes the 16th century practices of note taking and communication are among the most novel and informative in this friend book. She shows that they adopted the textual information processing methods of humanist scholarship to radically new ends. In this book, the local and cosmopolitan worlds of science in Elizabethan London with legends that compel admiration. Moreover, she has crafted a complex and effective new analytical mechanism which may transform the practices of historians of early modern science. So here you can see in the paragraph it is clearly mentioned that the 16th century London scientists they used old ways of analyzing written information for new purposes. Here they have mentioned they saw themselves less as individuals out to gain fame than as members of the larger textual communities bent on exchanging and comparing information. The passages in this Agnes analyzes the 16th century practices, note taking and communication are among the most novel and informative in this fine book. She shows that they adopted the textual information processing methods of humanist scholarship to radically new ends. Here the answer is F. So here you can see that we have completed MCQ question, true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, fill in the blanks, labeling the diagram, summary completion, matching information, matching heading, match features, matching sentence ending, short answer questions. Then we also have the notes, table, and crossword type of question. We will have to solve them just as we solve the fill in the blanks. So whenever you're reading, first you have to solve the questions which are not in order. That will be the matching headings and matching information. And then we'll have to solve all the questions that is in order, which include the fill in the blanks, MCQ questions, true, false, not given, etc. And in case of sentence ending, the questions are in order. And in case of matching features, the features are ordered. So it clearly discussed everything. So thank you all. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the video. See you soon in the next one. Have a great day.